Not only is this race a crown jewel event in the Wawa Cup Series, but it is a crown jewel event on the channel, joining the Indianapolis 250 and the Thanksgiving 500 as races that if you win will be remembered forever. And for the 11th time on the channel, we come to the World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway, for the Great American Race. It's been 2 years since this event has been run, but it is back with the Wawa Cup Series 2023 season. This is the Daytona 500 here in the Wawa Cup Series. Hello everybody, this is AG here, and welcome to the World Center of Racing for the biggest race of the season in the Wawa Cup Series 2023 season. This is the Daytona 500. 50 laps of action around this 2.5 mile super speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida, here on February 19th, 2023. The same day as the real life Great American Race. We do our own little spin of it, and it's the 11th edition of this event that we are running here today. So a lot of history behind this race, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. But today is going to be a completely different Daytona 500 from those of the past. We have restrictor plates on these cars for the first time ever, so the speeds are going to be a little bit slower, but the racing is still going to be just as good as it always has been. And not only that, we're going to have a cycle of pit stops scheduled in this race, a fuel window right about halfway here on this 2.5 mile super speedway. I'm joined alongside Josh Williamson and Nathan Stablin for the call of today's Great American Race here in the Wawa Pro Series, Wawa Cup Series I should say. That was last year. But Josh, the restrictor plates are really going to come into play. The big thing is, if we do end up with a wreck and cars off the pace, the closing rate will not be near as bad as it has been in the past, but it's also going to make it a little bit harder for these guys to get runs on other drivers. So what do you have to do knowing you're going about 30 miles per hour slower than you have in the past here if you want to get up front here at the Daytona International Speedway?
Well, you mentioned it. It's going to be slightly harder than in the past with those restrictor plates because we are not flying around at 220 miles per hour anymore. These cars are definitely... The draft is still very much going to play a factor as it always has. But I think even more so with the restrictor plates than when we didn't have them. But you could still get pinned in the middle 3 or 4 wide in the middle of a sucker hole, or sucker holes in some occasions if they go 4 wide instead of just 3. But that pit cycle is definitely going to shake things up. You're going to need to be quick, and that is definitely going to spread out the field. If we go green the entirety of the way, I would venture to say that that pit cycle could very well decide, if not the winner, then those who are going to be contending for this Daytona 500 victory. But you got to stay in the draft, and you've got to be a lot more careful now than you had about making your moves to get up towards the front, just because you are going to be that much slower, and the runs that you're going to get as a result are not going to be anywhere near as prevalent.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that all works out with the draft, but like you mentioned, Josh, we will also have a cycle of pit stops in today's race, and the first time we've ever done that on a super speedway here in pretty much any series. And Nathan, that strategy is going to be huge on when you come in and who you are with, and you want to generally be up front when you take your pit stop, but if you have a bad pit stop and this race remains green, your opportunities at winning this race are done. So what do these guys have to do to be careful coming down the pit lane if the race is green during that time, and just making sure they have a good pit stop to make it to the end of the race without any issues?
Well, it's playing kinda. As long as you don't run into the back of another car entering pit road, then you should be okay for the most part. You have to think, this whole pack, for the most part, about 40 cars, will probably be in the lead pack when these guys go dive onto pit road. It's going to be sketchy. It always is in real life. Probably will be here today, and depending on what happens entering pit road, that could affect what goes on in pit road and at same pit road, because if you get damage, that's going to slow you down. If you get damage, that could hold you up. And then team is a team will call it as a driver in the Daytona 500. But if you get a clean pit road, clean pit stop in the front, then you will still have a shot. It's gonna be very important that if you pit by yourself, probably won't work out. But if you pit with a big pack, that will probably work out for you.
And we're just going to have to see how that all goes down. But first, we got to get the race started here, and it's definitely going to be a fascinating one to see how it all lines up heading into that cycle of pit stops if we remain green until then. And the big thing here, the aggression is not what it used to be either in terms of the ratings. Obviously, with the ratings being involved with the series, these guys do not have the 100 aggression as they always have in the past as well. So we may not see a wreck in this race. We could see a caution-free Daytona 500 for the first time ever. But like I said, it's going to be a lot more about the racing today than it is about pure luck, and that's what I like about what we're doing this season with the Wawa Cup Series, and especially this race, because you really do have to have a fast car and have to have a lot of skill behind the wheel to get this Daytona 500 victory here today. It's not going to be up to chance on whether you go to victory lane or not. Of course, this is the second race of the season here in the Wawa Cup Series. We'll quickly go over the points. Aliera won the Wawa 400 last weekend. She starts dead last here today in the Daytona 500, but she is the points leader by 7 points ahead of the Season 2, the 2015 Daytona 500 champion of Nicholas Sambadio, who won this race by absolutely nothing. He is second in the points. Seth Cole is 8 points behind. Justin Zeidel 9 points behind. Rogeldorm 10 points behind, but still 19 races left to go until the chase. I could guarantee you nobody in this field is thinking about the points here today. They are thinking about going to victory lane in this great American race. We do also have 4 Sprint Series drivers. Jim Vincent won the Sprint Series on Wednesday night. And then Trey Bartow, Joe Rutkowski, and Cole Raymond all moved on. So those 4 drivers join the 36 full-time guys here for this great American race. And in just a couple of minutes, we'll get these guys to roll off here for the Daytona 500. And of course, the starting lineup randomly drawn in the game, and the qualifying ratings coming into play. Laura Chung will start on the pole position for this year's Daytona 500 as she starts alongside Rogel Dorn in the number 1. Christian Master, who came to the white flag in the first ever Daytona 500, he would love to regain some vengeance and get the race victory in this great American race here today. Chase Buck there alongside him there in row number 2. Elijah Gordon to the inside of Logan Williams in row number 3. And then Dylan Matthews to the inside of Justin Zeidel there in row 4. And there he is, Mr. Edge himself. One of 2 past winners of this Daytona 500 in the field today. He, along with Zachary Fitzwater. Fitzwater has won this race twice before. Sambadio did it back in 2015. By absolutely nothing. Get that race victory. He is alongside LJ Semedo there in row number 5. Double check and make sure everybody rolls off. Josh and then Nathan. Who do you guys think is going to go to victory lane here today in the great American race of the Wawa Cup Series?
Well, seeing how it's going to be a little more difficult to go around to get around people because of the restrictor plates and the ratings coming into play, not having 100 aggression, I want to stay up here in the top 10 for this pick. I'm going to go with the 51 of Justin Zeidel for Grattan Autosport to go to victory lane in this Daytona 500.
Well, I'm going to go with a safe pick, and I think we will see history this way. I think Zachary Fitzwater will get a 3rd Daytona 500 somehow, somewhere here today.
He starts all the way back in 37th, but you know Fitzy's going to be a threat to win, as with all of these drivers. It's been a long time since we've had this crown jewel event on the channel, but it's great to have it back. 50 laps of action here in the Wawa Cup Series at Daytona for the great American race. The pace car is down the pit lane, and Laura Chung will lead us to the green flag. We're underway in the biggest race of the season in the Wawa Cup Series. Coming across the line for the first lap, Laura Chung will lead lap 1 in the Daytona 500. Here comes Elijah Gordon on the inside with Dylan Matthews and Joe Rutkowski there, one of the Sprint Series drivers, moving his way to the inside lane as well. But Gordon holding strong. He is single file out front here on lap number 2.
I doubt it's going to stay that way for long, as here comes that 74 down to the inside with a big push from the 52 of Sebastian Kukulon. They are 3 by 3 by 3 all throughout the field behind the 69 of Elijah Gordon. Now down to the inside comes the 74, Joe Rutkowski. He'll move into the lead with the push of Sebastian Kukulon, and then behind, Sam Odoskin, the 77.
There's actually Cole Raymond there in the 77, moving to the inside of Dylan Matthews and Laura Chung. And he was kind of in a very similar position on Wednesday night in the sprint race. Stayed right behind Jim Vincent Left, pushed him to the race victory, and grabbed that last spot in this Daytona 500 as well. And here he is going 3 wide for the race lead as Rutkowski leads lap number 2. Here comes Eric Monaco in the 41. Travis Crampton and the Mellow Yellow Smooth Fest winner of Blaine Keys. We didn't see him too much last week at Homestead, but here he is moving his way up front early on here in this Daytona 500. Another thing we saw on that sprint race was once we got the faster cars up front, it stayed that way. So we'll have to see how this all shakes out, where the faster cars are at the moment, and when they get up to the front, because once those faster cars get up front, they can hold this field behind them, and we don't see as much passing on for the race lead, but we do have 4 wide already.
Oh,
Crampton
no.
moving up there on Cole Raymond, and it is an official 4 wide situation here on lap 4.
Oh, this is not good.
Blanky's there on the inside.
Cole Raymond was involved in a lot of almost 4 wide scenarios in the sprint race. And now he is.
Oh, there we go, with a big wreck already. Rutkowski's upside down. Dylan Matthews as well.
My.
Elijah Gordon getting caught up, and they're scrambling behind.
Everybody. That's everybody.
Justin Zidell caught up as well. LJ Semedo in the 71. Chase Buck with damage there as well in the 32. Jim Vincent left in the 07. Elijah Gordon in the 69.
Oh, man.
And the race back to the line. Here comes Sebastian Kukulon in the 52 to the inside of Blaine Keys, and Kukulon will win the race back. My goodness. Monaco went flipping down the backstretch. Elijah Gordon, his day is going to end early. Tanner Parton in the 42 may also be out of this one. Zidell, your pick to win, Josh. He is all torn up in that 51. Smoke trailing that machine. Vincent left in the 07. I know Matthews got caught up in it. Rogel Dorn as well. LJ Semedo was in the middle of all that. Trinity Ida, Daniel Paulus Jr. with a buckle on his hood. Logan Williams might have a buckle on his hood as well, and that was the worst imaginable place for that to happen, right in the front of the field. Trey Wright got some damage as well. And still got a lot of guys out there we're going to have a good shot at winning this race, but it's going to knock out quite a few guys, and not at all what these guys wanted early on here in this Daytona 500.
Absolutely not at all. That's just a shame the way that turned out. Looked like well over half the field. There had to be 25 cars plus back in that thing once those cars got sideways up front. I think only about 5 or 6 cars at the front of the field got through unscathed, and then from there it was, Darrell Waltrip once said it got up all of them because there's no place to go, and there was really no place to go coming off of turn number 2.
Well, the aggression did not come into play in terms of avoiding an accident in this race. However, it will be interesting to see if we have cars that are off the pace, if they will actually be as much of a factor as they have in the past. So it's going to be fascinating. But here's another factor, pit stops, and they'll still have to make another stop for the end of this race. Sebastian Kukulon coming down the pit lane right here, leading the field down the pit lane on lap number 5 into lap number 6. We'll review the accident, and then we'll go through who got knocked out. I don't think we're actually going to have too many guys who go to the garage after this accident. It looks like it was a fuel-only stop. A little contact there between Kukulon and Dylan Matthews. He's got to be careful coming off the pit lane here. But Matt Tuck's going to win the race off the pit lane in the 54, with Kukulon, Christian Vargas in third, Roberto Crown Jr., and Braden Perez, the top 5. So it really shuffled up there on the pit lane. But like I said, these guys will still have to make another stop in this race before we're done. Some guys went 2 tires, some guys went 4 tires. It was all over the board, so this field's going to be scrambled up when we get to the restart. But we can't get to the restart until we review the accident, so let's go ahead and see what happened to bring out the first caution of the day in the Great American Race early on here in this Daytona 500 in the Wawa Cup Series. A big wreck off the exit of turn number 2. Well, such a shame to see this early on in the race, but Travis Crampton there and Cole Raymond in the middle. And then Joe Rutkowski's going to have nowhere to go. Same with Eric Monaco in the 41. Blaine Keys gets away with this one, but just such a shot there. Both Raymond and Rutkowski go upside down. Dylan Matthews had nowhere to go. Sam Adio got a piece of this one in the 59. I think that might affect him. Trey Wright went spinning, and then Eric Monaco also ended up upside down there. And then back in here, they just try to avoid, and there's just nowhere for any of these guys to go. Can't even see anything from that angle. Echo Evans Ross is around. Daniel Paulus Jr. Seth Cole went spinning there in the 82 machine. Brad Stover in the middle of that. Rogel Dorn you see there. Chase Buck in the 32. Christian Master in the 43 machine kind of in the middle of all this. And a hard hit there. That's going to knock out Seidel as he ran right into the 77 of Cole Raymond. Laura Chung, our pole sitter, went around. And LJ Semedo as well. And you have the 18 of Chris Reynolds and Trey Wright kind of down in the grass. And everyone who avoided this one, who got past it, they should all be good to go, assuming that they didn't take any hits from this. But other guys, you see Jim Vincent left in the 07, Elijah Gordon in the 69. So much to unpack from this accident here at Daytona.
Here we go. This is what happened. 4 wide does not look at Daytona, even with the slow speeds, and just calamity off of turn number 2. 4 cars end up flipping the 3 up ahead, and then Elijah Gordon gets T-boned just slightly, but it was enough for him to go over a couple of times. And then just the trail was blocked basically, and because 4 wide in front of the field, if it was 4 wide in the back, it would not have been as bad. But 4 wide in the front, most of the field got involved, 20-25 cars, a lot of big names involved, a lot of favorites for this one that were up front at the time. I'm fairly unfortunate, but this is going to change everything in this Daytona 500.
And absolutely will. We're going to review it one more time, do an onboard as well. It's a big enough wreck to warrant a whole lot of replays for this one.
Watching from an outer perspective, you see the 4 wide up front and just right against the catch fence on the outside, centered in on Rogel Dorn. He's going to have several of the moments of all time trying to get through this. He actually pushes the 69 of Elijah Gordon upside down, then goes down, runs into Fitzwater a little bit, trying to dodge the other calamity on the outside. And goodness gracious, just several, at least 25 cars look like we're in this one. It looks like we're going to have, hopefully it's not a whole lot out of the race, but my goodness, it looks like there is going to be several cars that will not be able to continue. Seidel, my pick, with the black smoke of death coming out of that Ford Mustang. Goodness gracious, calamity in the early laps here at Daytona.
Let's go ahead and go on board somebody, and we'll go ahead and get back to the race here, the Daytona 500 in the Wawa Cup Series. Gonna go on board the 91 of Laura Chung here for this one, right behind this accident. Boy, almost a windshield full of Rutkowski. See some guys get out of it, but others were not as fortunate. Laura Chung, I don't think she's out of the race, but a lot of other guys will be, and we will keep track of that when we get back to racing here in the Daytona 500 in the 2023 Wawa Cup Series. We are back here at the Daytona International Speedway, the Daytona 500 in the Wawa Cup Series 2023 season. A very interesting start to this race. We went into it thinking we may have a caution-free race. Well, they went 4 wide at the front of the pack, and we had a massive accident, knocking out 10 drivers. I think the 98 of Travis Crampton may have had a separate issue, but a quarter of the field already out of this race. Now with this single-file restart, however, I think we may end up possibly having a clean race at the end. Knock on wood. I'm hoping that's the case. But big accident there as Cole Raymond shot up there and caused the big one off the exit of turn number 4. Joe Rutkowski was also in the middle of that. It was 2 Sprint Series drivers. Elijah Gordon also out of the race. The 41 also out there, driven by Eric Monaco, who went flipping down the backstretch. Tanner Parton is out. Justin Seidel is out. Andrew Miller is out. Chase Buck took a heavy hit. He is out of the race. The 07 of Jim Vincent is also out. And the 98 of Travis Crampton with an issue as well. 3 of the Sprint Series drivers in this race are already out of the race. The only one still in is Trey Bartow. He restarts in the 8th position here with Matt Tuck, Sebastian Kukulon, Christian Vargas, Roberto Crown Jr., Braden Perez, Fisher G. Ali Yerra started dead last in this race. She's already up to 7th. Trey Bartow, Blaine Keys, and Brady Mardi Gras. The top 10 as we're back underway at the World Center of Racing on lap number 9. Kukulon right there behind Matt Tuck. You got Braden Perez trying to make a move here on Roberto Crown Jr., but something you'll really notice, these restarts are going to take a little while to get up to speed. Get really interesting with those restrictor plates and how well these guys can form their runs. Fisher G pushing the 23 of Braden Perez to 3rd, and Yerra has Trey Bartow behind her. And things get really interesting here as they try to form up into the pack.
Here goes Seb. Right down to the inside of Matt Tuck in turn number 3 for the race lead. As looks like Allier slips up to the outside a little behind, side by side with the 80 of Trey Bartow. As Kukulon makes it past for the race lead around the 54 of Tuck. Here comes the 23 of Braden Perez. He's going to shoot it down to the inside for the race lead and bring the 37 of Fisher G with him behind.
Fisher G in the number 37. He's going to challenge for the race lead here momentarily, probably down a back switch. And he's going to have help from Trey Bartow and the number 5 of Ali Loera. I cannot say that last name. I am so sorry, Ali. But here comes Bartow, going to ditch the 37 potentially, and never mind, now the 5's going to ditch Bartow.
Yeah, and these guys kind of forming up on the outside lane right here. Fisher G and Sebastian Kukulon, teammates at Harrisville Motorsports, so not a surprise to see them help each other out. I think these guys will probably form back up. Drew Webb on up. You got Fitzwater maybe a little off the pace there. Sam Medeo kind of with these guys. Trinity Ida with a bit of a buckle on her hood. And then Laura Chung also got caught up in that one. Daniel Paulus Jr. is down the pit lane. And he's gone multiple laps down. So there are a few guys back in here who have significant damage. Trey Wright, Brad Stover here, Joey Hightower, Logan Williams, and Dylan Matthews. Echo Evans Ross leading this pack here. But they are already about 5 seconds off the pace right now. We have about 14 drivers in the lead draft. So this is good news for when we get to the green flag cycle of pit stops, which I would assume it would be green flag because it's a lot harder to wreck when you got a 14-car pack compared to when you have a 40-car pack. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that all goes down. But a lot of heavy hitters here in this pack. Like you mentioned, Trey Bartow in the number 80 machine. He's never won a crown jewel race on the channel. This is one of them. He could do it here today. Thomas Troxel, Christian Masters, Seth Cole is here, Matt Tuck, Sebastian Kukulon, and of course we can't not mention last week's winner, Ali Yerra, there in the number 5, trying to go 2 in a row to open up the season there for Dracoan Racing Enterprises. Dracoan Racing Enterprises has yet to lose a race this season, as they won the Smooth Fest with Blaine Keys and won the Wawa 400 at Homestead last weekend with Yerra. Ludovic Charette, though, for Team Andrews, or should I say Andrews Racing. I'm getting confused with Team Williams, which is owned by Andrew Williams, so getting all of that confused there. But Ludovic Charette, his first ever Daytona 500, only his 3rd career start on the channel. And it looks like he might get a lap led here, but Braden Perez on that outside lane holding on. And here comes Christian Master in the 43. You know he's going to be a threat to win this race, considering he's still in contention. And you know that first Daytona 500 is ringing in his mind here today as he goes for his first Daytona 500 race victory.
Got a big push from Seth Cole on the inside. The 18 of Christopher Reynolds right behind. I say Christopher Reynolds. Chris Reynolds behind him. 54, Matt Tuck. And the Mountain Dew car, that's the 13 of Brian Webb on the inside with the 99 of Drew Webb. And looks like they're trying to push Master into the lead. The outside lane is charging with Braden Perez. But Ludovic Charette is hanging in the middle there. This is something that we don't really see with restrictor plates. You don't really see the middle lane hang on as much as it is right now, but they're doing a good job. Say,
you weren't in the booth with Nathan and I on Wednesday night. This is almost exactly what that race was. We had a 20-car field, as I think, almost looked like Mardi Gras kind of went off the pace there for a second. It's a little bit off the pace right there. You got Trinity Ida, Nicholas Amadeo, Blaine Keys, and Christian Vargas here. Fitzwater Obviously, you saw him accumulate damage from that accident. He's with his teammate of Laura Chung right there. They're trying to hang on here. You know, salvaging the points now is a good thing because it is a point series. You know, you definitely want to get as many points as you can to make it into the chase later on in the season. And if you can't win the race, you might as well get as many points as you can. But either way, as I was saying, this is a lot like what we saw on Wednesday. We had a 20-car field for the Sprint Series race, and once it got to this point, it stayed that way the entire race. So Master, Charette, and Braden Perez may be in very good positions to kind of dominate this race at this point. Master has that inside lane. Jim Vincent left was in that inside lane on Wednesday night, and he went on the victory lane. That inside lane has that slight little bit of an advantage, but Charette and Perez are going to try to get that outside lane to work to their advantage. As you see Brian Webb there kind of move to the middle lane, and it's all going to determine on who goes to which lane and which lane has the most help.
We've got a car just ahead of this pack by the looks of it heading off into this corner.
El Jason Meadow. Now this is going to be fascinating here with the lap traffic. These guys are going much slower, but that 71 is going rather slow himself, and this is going to really shake things up. Right in the middle lane. Ludovic Charette going to get held up. Top three pull away. Seth Cole, Christian Master, and Braden Perez. Samedo way off the pace there in the 71 machine, and it's going to take a little bit for these guys to get around that 71.
That's not what the Pat wants. Now they might lose touch of the top 3, top 5, and if that ends up happening, then that might end the hopes for 500. But hopefully they can get past the 71 relatively fast here. There goes Marigua, still likes that name a lot. Going to get past them, and unfortunately, it looks like the 37 and I believe the 62 are going to. Oh my goodness,
yeah, are going
to get held up the most.
Troxel almost got in the Fisher G. This may open the door for San Mateo and Keys to maybe close in. Everyone's past the 71 there. And we've got 3 small packs right here. This could end up being a very fascinating race. We got another lap car. The good thing is the pack is split up at this point, so should be able to get around Rogel Doran a lot easier than they did earlier on. But Braden Perez now out front in the 23 for Team Williams, with Christian Masters, Seth Cole right behind him, and
whoa,
that was a late decision to move down. He stayed behind that one a little too much. Have to see what these guys can do. Trey Bartow, Aliera, Ludovic Charette there, Matt Tuck, Drew Webb, and Chris Reynolds. Gonna work that outside lane to their advantage. Aliera gonna get held up there by the 1 machine, and nowhere for the 5 or the 99 to go. So I guess my theory on lap cars becoming an issue, or not becoming an issue, because of the restrictor plates is proven false right here, because these guys still having a ton of trouble getting around the lap cars, almost more so than they have in the past, as now Roberto Crown Jr. gets held up by the 1 machine, but they're going to finally find their way to the inside.
And the thing about getting held up by lap cars now, as opposed to when we didn't have restrictor plates, is, you know, with the runs not being as prevalent, it's going to take a lot longer for these guys to get up to speed. When we restarted and when we started the race, it took about a full lap for everybody to get up to their top speed. So it is definitely going to be a different dynamic than what we've seen in the past. It definitely has been already, but now with the lap traffic coming into factor, as you said, this could be a very fascinating rest of the race.
Yeah, we could still end up with the chess match. We do have the 47 of Dylan Matthews, next lap car in line. Probably won't reach him for a couple of laps. But Nathan, you know, this is very interesting. You know, I mean, we see this at the end of the Daytona 500 quite a bit, where it splits up like this, but it's a little early on for this to be the case right now. Obviously, we had a big wreck early on in the race, which took out a lot of guys, but do you see anyone past 6th place even winning this race at this point? I know we still have 32 laps to go, but it's looking like it may just be between these top 6 guys.
Oh, I'm going to say yes and no. I'm going to say yes, it might just come down to these top 6 if it stays green, if these top 6 get around lap traffic very well, and if they get a clean pit stop. But I'm going to say no, because there's always that chance of a lap car blocking someone, not being clear, having a caution. Caution is still possible, and these top 5, top 6, they could easily get held up by some lap traffic still, with it being 31 laps to go. So I think there's a chance that it could come down to these top 6, but there's also a chance that maybe more drivers can get involved.
It's going to be fascinating to see. how it all shakes up. And you got to think we're coming close to that cycle of pit stops as well. Do believe we have about a 25 to 29 lap fuel run. Once the window is open to make it to the end, I think we'll start to see these guys come down. But you definitely want to have help coming down that pit lane, because if you're left all by yourself, you're not going anywhere. We got two distinct packs now, kind of close to each other. Brian Webb leading this pack right here. And you got Kukulon and Mardi Gras who have lost touch. And then these guys here, I think they're just a little bit off the pace. Trinity Ida, Blaine Keys, Christian Vargas, Nicholas Samadio. These guys have actually closed in on these top four, so we may actually have a larger pack come in the play here, deeper in the field. But the thing is, they're 11 seconds off the race lead at this point, so I do not see them closing in without a caution. Ludovic Charette out front in the 61 for Andrews Racing as they get around Dylan Matthews. Braden Perez and Christian Master getting held up there on that outside lane. And the thing I'm noticing is that we have a two-lane racetrack here. There's no third lane for these guys to get around these lap cars. It's either you're in the right lane or you're in the wrong lane. And sometimes those lap cars go in both lanes. And Braden Perez gonna lose the race lead, fall back to 6th there, trying to get around the 47 of Dylan Matthews. We're back to having the chess match here at Daytona, but that's what we're used to, and we're gonna have an interesting race here for the Daytona 500 victory.
Yeah, and we're just a handful, or two hands full actually, laps away from the pit cycle. Since the caution came out on lap 4, we came down to the pit road at the start of lap 5. And so we expect the pit cycle, if it's 25 to 29, it's probably about lap 30. We should see the first drivers making the dive into the pits, as there goes Matt Tuck around the 61 of Ludovic Charette, and that will allow the 80 of Bardo to close in, and maybe even the cars behind Cole, Master, and Perez, as Perez makes a move down to the inside of Master. And don't look now, here comes the cars behind. Ali Liera appears to be leading the charge.
And she's got some help there from Berta Crown Jr., Brian Webb, Fisher G, Chris Reynolds. And they all got around Dylan Matthews fairly well, so we may end up with a large pack once again. Thomas Troxel now closing in on the back of this pack. There's a lot of guys who can get this race victory, but they're going to have to run into lap traffic once again. This is just back to how it always was, just going 30 miles per hour slower. I thought this race would be entirely different than what we've had in the past, and other than the speeds, it has not been. But, hey, we're still going to have a lot of fun here to close this one out. Not even halfway through this Daytona 500 yet, a lot has happened. Matt Tuck out front now for Grattan Auto Sport. This is a driver who I feel like is going to have a lot of success this season, especially considering the ratings. And you know, jumping on those ratings there, Nathan, how much do you think that's affecting these guys right now? Even though things are very minor, some of these guys have slightly different skill levels than others at this point, and you think that may determine who gets the race victory here?
Maybe a little bit. It is early on in the season, so the lanes are not that big of a deal so far, but oh my goodness. But it is early on. There's been a few lanes days, and I feel like some teams that have done some good lanes for the Super Speedways are definitely going to have a shot over some others, but so far, yeah, interesting one here at Daytona. And right when that second pack caught back up to the lead pack, they get up by the number 71.
LJ Cimento really off the pace there in the 71 machine. Brian Webb, Fisher G going to finally get around him there. You end up with this one long strung out pack here, and the race lead looking to go to Thomas Troxel now on the 62. His next time by, we'll be halfway through this Daytona 500 now. Here's the thing, the lap traffic has helped out Troxel because he was in that second pack after the first encounter with Cimento. And he finally was able to close back up and get to the race lead as he leads halfway for Pacific Racing here in the Daytona 500. We'll see if anyone's coming down the pit lane quite yet. I do not see anyone at the moment. See how close these guys are. Yeah, they're about 14 seconds off, so they are still losing time even with the leaders running in the lap traffic. So these guys definitely off the pace. So many guys getting damaged from that accident there early on in this Daytona 500. It's only allowed for a few guys to have an opportunity, but yet we're still 3 wide. Back in here as the top 2 have kind of pulled away, Troxel and Charette, but these guys really going at it for the 3rd position here. And Drew Webb taking that 3rd position away there from Matt Tuck, Braden Perez. He's trying to hold on to it ahead of these guys, but any one of these guys, I think, inside this main draft, I think from Fisher G on up, can win this race. That's 13 drivers with an opportunity of getting this Daytona 500 race victory. But it's going to come down to the cycle of pit stops on who gets the advantage here as this race ends up closing up. So, Troxel leading, but if you have a bad pit stop and fall behind, you're not going to get the race victory.
And Ludovic Charette is not exactly trying to get the lead away from Troxel. I think that's a good thing, at least for the time being, with third on back shuffling. At least they were a little bit ago. That's allowed them to pull away a little bit, I would take it. But they're about to run into lap traffic again. It's the number 1 of Rogel Dorn. And we'll see if Troxel does what Perez did earlier with a late commit down to the inside. He's going to try the outside, but that checked up to 62. And Ludovic Charette's going to go down to the inside, but Rogel Dorn is staying on that inside lane. Troxel's going to go around to the outside. They're going to try 3 wide.
Troxel's going to get away. They're finally utilizing that outside lane to their advantage to get around these lap cars, but they're not making the moves like they used to. When they were going much faster, they would get out of the way much faster as well. They're not doing that right now. They are waiting to the bitter last second and sometimes just getting stuck behind those lap cars. So a lot of it's up to the driver and their skill set on how they're able to get around these lap cars. And basically back to having one big pack as we close in on our cycle of pit stops. Braden Perez in the 23 is here. You got Drew Webb there in the second position. Ludovic Charette has been running very well so far. Matt Tuck's been up front a majority of this race. Seth Cole's up here. Roberto Crown Jr. Aliera looking to open up the season back-to-back. That would be huge for her in terms of possibly winning this championship. But obviously, she's trying to win 2 crown jewels on the channel. The Thanksgiving 500 champion from last year looking to get the Daytona 500 this year. And she's going to have a very good opportunity of doing so there for Dracoan Racing Enterprises. That
would be something to kick off the season 2, and they'll definitely have a lot of momentum for the rest of the season. And it might be early on, as this is kind of booth. It might be early on in the season, but getting 2 wins in a row, that it might not help her championship chances, but it might help her have a really, really good chance at making it into the chase.
And we're just going to have to see how the season ends up playing out, but like I said at the top of the show, nobody in this race is focused on the championship. They're focused on getting this race victory, and I think all these guys, pretty much from... Master might actually kind of lose some ground here. He's a little bit off the pace now. He's 2.5 seconds off. But any of these guys still have a shot at getting this race victory, but Troxel, once he got out front, kind of held on to this race lead. Now, there hasn't been one specific driver dominating so far, even with all these splits going on. We've had many different passes for the race lead, many different drivers leading this race, so it's going to be interesting to see if that continues on as this race goes on. And I imagine these guys are going to be coming down the pit lane, though, very soon, because they're not going to be able to make it on 45 laps. Fuel window's going to be just a little bit too much for them. We got 3 wide for the race lead. Braden Perez moving to the inside of Drew Webb and Thomas Troxel, and we're now back to having a semi-large pack for the race lead.
He's got help coming from Gretton Autosports. Matt Tuck there in the 54. 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. just behind. Then Chris Reynolds and Trey Bartow ending out the inside lane, at least for the moment.
Troxel.
But looks like Drew Webb's trying to get a middle lane going, but Troxel went way up high in corner entry.
I think we got some guys coming down the pit lane here. Roberto Crown Jr. moved up.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Reynolds, they got to be careful coming down here.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe not. They moved up in such a way where it almost looked like they were allowing the 54 to come down. Fisher G's going to come down here.
There's our
and
first
he's going to be down with nobody else. He was already off the pack, but he's not going to have any help when he comes back onto the racetrack. We'll have to see what ends up going on with him. But a lot of guys back in here coming down. Kukulon ended up losing the main draft, and he fell back to the second pack. You got Trey Wright, Brady Mardi Gras, Blaine Keys coming down the pit lane with those guys. But these guys have to be careful not to wreck coming down the pit lane. It's the first time we've really done this in this race. Now, we've had the Christmas Eve 500. It's another race that's been done here at Daytona. That race did have pit stops, and I know some of these guys have run in that event before, so they know how to do it here under green flag conditions. But how well will they do it? Troxel coming down, Perez and Crown Jr., Brian Webb also down the pit lane. But not everyone coming down is Ludovic Charette going to lead that lap. Actually, Drew Webb going to lead that lap. He's so far out ahead, didn't even see him. Now, Fisher G kind of a little bit of a mark on where these guys are going to end up falling in line. He was about 5 seconds off the lead pack, and he's going to currently go a lap down. But of course, the guys who are lapping him right now still have to come down the pit lane for their pit stop. We'll see how well these guys come off the pit lane. Troxel and Perez right on each other right there. Christian Master is on the pit lane right now. There's Crown Jr. and Brian Webb. And then Master, he came down with these guys. He was a little bit behind these guys coming down the pit lane. I don't know if he's going to really gain much of an advantage. Back to the race lead, and the rest of the drivers coming down the pit lane. Drew Webb, Ludovic Charette, Seth Cole, Matt Tuck, Chris Reynolds, Aliera, and Trey Bartow, and they're all on each other coming down the pit lane. So if they all can stay together, the winner of this race may very well come from this group of drivers right here. We're going to go ahead and follow with Drew Webb in the number 99 and see where he comes out in relation to everybody else. Came down the race leader here with 17 laps to go in this Daytona 500. And it was gas and go for Drew Webb right there. Ludovic Charette, I believe he also went gas and go. Same with Matt Tuck. I think all these guys, gas and go. They don't need tires to end this race. And all these guys relatively staying right on each other. That's going to be huge for all these drivers here in their chances of possibly winning this great American race. But here comes Thomas Troxel and Braden Perez. Will they be able to beat these guys off the pit lane? But the thing is, even if they do, with how many guys are going to be right on each other here in this pack, a very good opportunity that we could end up with a big pack to end this race, or at least relatively speaking. Here's Drew Webb, Roberto Crown Jr. There's Thomas Troxel and Braden Perez. Drew Webb, Ludovic Charette coming off the pit lane just ahead of them. I think Perez and Troxel will get the advantage. Charette going to almost block Troxel there. But the 23 of Braden Perez going to come around, take the race lead away from Drew Webb. And I think Perez will lead lap 34. And now the race is on for this Daytona 500. They do not have to come down the pit lane again. Who is it going to be in the second race of the season and the crown jewel event of the season here in the Wawa Cup Series?
We sit now at 16 laps to go in this race. It is Perez, Troxel leading the way. And then a little further behind, there's the 71 of LJ Semedo coming out of the pits. Logan Williams there, the 95, lap traffic holding up some cars. That's the 61 of Ludovic Charette and the 99 of Drew Webb as they try to close in on Perez and Troxel, who had a massive head start on everybody else who was just coming out of the pit road. That's the benefits of being one of the first cars to come down into the pits. They were the first ones to come down in that lead group by the looks of things. And, well, here they are leading the way, but they can't get too comfortable because they might not stay there before the end of this race.
15 laps to go. They don't have to pay what, so they just have to worry about winning the Daytona 500 at this point. But it's all the 23 ahead of the 62, and it might come down to these two, because they have a pretty good gap over Brian Webb, who's all by himself, but not all by himself, who has the 61. This is almost like two car tandems back almost a decade ago now here at Daytona, and this could get interesting with coming 14 laps to go.
And I think if I'm Thomas Troxel, I want to stay right behind Braden Perez until the end of this race. Try to pull away as much as I can, but they're going to have different ideas of getting around the lap car of Dylan Matthews. And they're probably going to end up splitting him right here. Perez going to get the outside lane to work for his advantage. And Troxel going to take the inside. But Perez holding on to this race lead here for Team Williams and Andrew Williams, the owner of this team. Troxel owned by Brennan Wilmington. That's Pacific Racing right there. Drew Webb, Titan Fury Racing. They've been around a long time. They got a huge opportunity here. John Andrews, the owner of Andrews Racing. And Ludovic Charette in the 61. And then Aliera, Dracoan Racing Enterprises, so far undefeated here. Will they go 3 for 3 here in the Wawa Cup Series to open up the season? There's a very good chance that could happen, especially with the lap cars. I think these guys might end up closing back in on each other. And they're starting to close in on Perez and Troxel, and we still have ourselves 13 laps to go as we cross the line next time by. But Braden Perez in the best position right now, leading this field, and with the way these guys are, all single file and strung out, it's going to be harder for them to get around this 23 for the race lead. But they're coming, and they're coming a lot closer to this 23. We're going to have ourselves a pretty big pack here in just a few laps.
This screams early 2000s Daytona for me. This is bringing the nostalgia factor up to 11. But this is definitely not going to stay this way as the field continues to accordion together, as the drafting continues to take place a little deeper further back, and Drew Webb tried to get to the inside of the 62 of Troxel. Not quite able to get it done for the moment, but that could slow the look at it. They're 2x2 from second back to fifth. That's going to bring Tuck and Cole back up into it, and Perez, that's opened the door up for him. He might slip further away from these cars.
He's doing an excellent job right now holding on to this race lead. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that these guys are running side by side. He's the only driver as well who actually has a teammate in this battle. This is Brian Webb in the 13, the teammate there to Braden Perez at Team Williams. Not too far off, and I think he may just be getting a sniff of the draft with these guys ahead of him, so he'll probably join this lead draft as well. It'll bring it to 8 cars fighting for the win here in the Daytona 500 with 11 laps to go. Roberto Crown Jr. a little far off there in the 21, and then the next guy in line is Chris Reynolds, Trey Barta. They've fallen off tremendously. They're 7.5 seconds off now. Master and Fitchy also way off the pace, and the same goes for Kukulon, Mardi Gras, Brad Stover, and Nicholas Samadio. They're all 18 to 20 seconds off the race lead. So there are cars all over the place, but the biggest pack and the main pack is this one right here. 11 laps to go. And I think one of these 8 drivers is going to get this Daytona 500 race victory. And it could very well be this lady right here. Alliera to the inside of Drew Webb for second. And she's going to have a run on Perez for the top position. Help from Seth Cole and Matt Tuck on that inside lane.
Here comes the number 5, trying to make it 2 in a row to start the season, and the team is trying to make it 3 in a row to kick off the season and remain a perfect record. But here comes the 99 of Drew Webb, not Brian, but Drew Webb, trying to stop that from happening. 10 laps go into the Daytona 500. Who's going to get it done? I have no idea.
And here we go with lap traffic once again. So the chess match is still going on out here, and how will these drivers get around the one? Yera, ooh, she had an advantage of being single file, and she's going to take them down to the inside. And when they get around the lap cars, they look like they're going pretty fast. You also have Blaine Keys here, and that's the teammate to Yera, so hopefully Blaine Keys will let Yera kind of just drive right by. Seth Cole also gets around Braden Perez. Matt Tuck and Brian Webb get around, and Troxel now getting held up by the one machine of Rogel Dorn.
Right down to the inside will go in behind Ludovic Charette, but he's still close enough to that 61. The 61's still close enough to the 13 and the 54, where they could get in a 4-car draft to draft up to the 82 and 23, which could get them back up to these 2 drivers, Ali Liera and Drew Webb. But Drew Webb's going to get blocked by Blaine Keys, now going to cross the inside, and Ali's going to go to the outside of LJ Semedo, and they're going to go
the teammates of these 2 guys. And Drew Webb, oh my goodness, got completely held up there by the 71.
Charge by Perez up in there.
He did not get around his teammate well at all. And now all these guys are going to form right back up in the pack. And you know, that could have been a strategic move out of Drew Webb. He knew he wasn't going to catch up to Yera single file, so he brought all these guys with him, and you know they're going to have a lot of speed on the 5. But Yera is now clear out and ahead in this number 5 machine. She led the last 30 laps of that race at Homestead. She was such a strong force in that one, and she's looking pretty strong right now in this Daytona 500, trying to get maybe the biggest win of her career. That Thanksgiving 500 was big, but I don't know. Which crown jewel is bigger? This one, definitely a long-running race on the channel, the Daytona 500, and you want to get this race victory because you get remembered if you do. Jesse Turner, the first ever winner of this race. Nicholas Samadio won it there in 2015 in the second season of the Cup Series. In the Season 3, Cody Hagan won. Gabriel Wanderlei in Season 4. Josh Marzak, along with Zachary Fitzwater, a 2-time winner of the race. And, of course, Alexander Rowe, a race winner of this Daytona 500 back in the day. It's definitely going to be interesting to see who joins that list as Daytona 500 champions on the channel. It is 7 laps to go, and Alliera, she had a 2-second lead, now it's a 1-second lead, and these guys are going to close right up on the back bumper of the 5. Problem is, they got Christian Vargas and Laura Chung just ahead of her. The thing is, these guys are pretty much up to speed with our race leaders. The first time we've run into them all race long. Will they be in the way of our race leaders and affect the outcome of this race? We're just going to have to find out and see. Next time by, 6 laps to go in the Daytona 500.
Oh, they are closing in very quickly on Ali Lera, continuing to lead the way, but they're side-by-side lap traffic just ahead as Perez dives out of the inside of
This
Drew
isn't
Webb,
good.
and Lera has caught them, and here comes the pack a little further behind. You notice how much it slowed up Ali, and there's Perez going into second, and we'll just have to... Oh, man, what a charge. What a run they've got going.
Big closing right here, but there's nowhere for anyone to go, and Yera's going to stay out front in the 5. She's going to try to get the outside on Laura Chung right here, but Brain Perez is going to try to make a move to the inside of her here through the corner. It's crunch time now. We're closing in also on the point of no return, and if we get a caution, the race will end. No overtime here on AG the channel. We go until the scheduled finish, and that is it. And Yera, she lost that big lead, but she was able to get that pack to close up to her without them passing her. So we'll have to see if she can hold on and grab this Daytona 500 race victory. Braden Perez has been a dominant force in this race. Will he have a shot? Drew Webb, Ludovic Charette, and Thomas Troxel all clear. Chung and Vargas. Seth Cole and Matt Tuck going to try to do the same, and I think they're going to stay in line as well. 5 laps to go in the Daytona 500 in the Wawa Cup Series. And they're closing in on Fitzwater now on the 9, who is about to become a lap-down machine.
Is Fitzy my pick? Let's just say it didn't go well. I might have dreams. Fitzy now he's going to become a lap car. Going to get passed by Ali and then number 5, and now it goes, oh my goodness, I thought Fitzy was going to block Drew Webb right there, but here comes the 61 and the 82 as well. 4 laps to go, and we might have 4 cars battling for this race win.
What Fitzwater just did, we've seen that the whole race, lap cars trying to get down low, I guess, to either get out of the way of the guys who are on the high side, or, I don't know, maybe just diamond, but goodness gracious, that was a close call, and thankfully, well, not thankfully for Perez, but thankfully for everyone on that inside, that did not cause a melee, and we're still green flag racing with 3.5 laps to go. Ali Liera leads, but Drew Webb is not very far behind. Look at my man Seth Cole in the 3rd position with the big push from Thomas Troxel.
Yeah, driving for your team there, Trinity River Racing. I know you'd love to win this race as an owner, but I don't know. Owen Miles put something in those Ford machines this season. They have been so strong. And you got to think, too, Aliera started dead last in this race in the 40th position. Now, granted, that wreck, she got through that wreck just fine. It gave her a lot of positions when that occurred, but she has moved her way up to the race lead here with 3 laps to go in the Daytona 500. I'm hoping, I don't think we'll run in the lap traffic before the end of this race, but LJ Cimento is a really slow car out there in the 71. He's at the other end of the racetrack right now, so it could be down to any of these guys. Matt Tuck on up to the race leader for the race win in the Daytona 500. Drew Webb in second. Seth Cole here looking to take that position away. He's got Ludovic Charette behind him in the 61 looking to push him.
Oh boy.
We'll have to see if he can get a run on the 5. Coming to 2 laps to go in the Daytona 500 for Aliera. Number 5, Mr. Cohen Racing Enterprises.
These guys need to stop going side by side for a second if they want any shot at catching up this bad fast number 5 trying to go 2 in the road to sell off season. They need to work together, find out if who has the fastest car and just shove them to the 5 and past the 5. Seth Cole is now clear up now. The 61's going to try to get past 82, and this might just be of what gives the number 5 the Daytona 500 victory.
It's going to be interesting to see if these guys can close up to the 5. They have enough momentum. They're coming to the white flag here in the Daytona 500. Dylan Matthews is blown up.
Dylan!
The green flag is still out. That's actually a good thing, as he's going to be out of the way for our race leaders. And as long as we take the white flag, we will end this race under the checkered. And look at the lead Aliera has in the number 5. Looking to go 2 in a row to open up the season and get the Daytona 500. White flag here at Daytona in the Wawa Cup Series. But these guys, they're formed up. Will they be able to close in on this 5 before the end of this race?
They are 2 and on the edge of 3 wide, tucked down to the inside of Ludovic Charette with a push from Thomas Troxel. The outside, Cole, Webb, and Perez. Charette is in the middle. The run is stalled out for the moment.
Boy.
And Liera is out of here for the moment, but looks like we got lap traffic ahead with LJ Cimento. See if that plays into anybody else's hands except Ali Liera into turn 3. A run on the outside from Cole. Is this going to make a difference?
Oh boy, Liera's got to get around the 71. Will she be able to do it? She
Oh,
won't!
no.
She slowed down, but I don't know if anyone's going to get to her in time. They will not. It won't have an effect. 2 in a row. Ali Liera wins the Daytona 500 in the Wawa Cup Series. And so far, she's 2 for 2 in the Wawa Cup Series 2023.
Boy, that was almost a disaster for Ali, but goodness gracious, what a drive. What a start to the season she is having. She may very well be the best one of the whole season. These first 2 races she has been anyway, but man, Dracoan is putting the entire field on notice. 3 for 3 so far in the 2023 Wawa Cup Series.
How about that? From 40th to 1st. She did the entire field. Now, granted, like I said, that wreck also came into effect there, and her ability to move up to the front because everyone else got knocked out. But my goodness, this is something that I would have expected a little bit later on in the season when the ratings really started to form up. Everyone is still basically equal ratings, and we open up the season with a driver winning the first 2 races of the year. And Ali Liera, her 4th career win on the channel, wins the Daytona 500. She joins Nicholas Samadillo as a driver who has won both the Daytona 500 and the Thanksgiving 500. And she only has one more crown jewel to go. That's the Indy 250 in May. We'll have to see if she joins that series and has an opportunity at getting the Triple Crown. Samadillo has the Triple Crown, the only driver to have the Triple Crown. But my goodness, that race was completely different than what we expected. But it was definitely entertaining. A chess match once again. The pit stops really did not affect too much in this race. But, wow, Ali Liera, she's going to be hard to beat this season, especially considering these first 2 races. But once we really get to the heart of the season here soon, where we have these speedways, we have these short tracks, and we have all these different types of tracks, the road courses coming up as well, I don't know if she's going to be able to hold on to it, but she's going to cherish it while she can. A Daytona 500 champion in the Wawa Cup Series. And Nathan, once she got the race lead, just like it was last week, she kept it out front and was able to hold everybody off, but no one was able to close up to her. Do you think those guys going side by side kept them from catching up to Liera and having a shot at the Daytona 500 win?
I completely agree. I think with those guys bound from second on bat, 2 and 3 wide, that killed all the momentum that they potentially had. And then once we caught the same one over there, I thought maybe that would have changed things. It almost did. But at the end of the day, Ali was back to back, and Josh, I think we might have to rethink our game plan because that team of Dracoan Racing Enterprises, they might be unstoppable.
Well, I don't know. This is the 2nd race in a row that Seth Cole has finished in the 3rd position. He still walks out of here with an average finish of 3.0. And Trey Wright, he was involved in that big pile up on the back straightaway on lap number 4, but despite all that, he survives with a top 20 finish. Got to give massive props to the endurance of Trey Wright in this race. He went through absolute hell in the early laps and still comes out of here with a finish in the top half of the field. But art goes out to Braden Perez, man. He ran up at the front just about the entirety of the beginning of the race after that restart, after the pile up, and just he had that one get away from him. But I'll tell you what, he's going to be someone to look out for this season. My goodness.
Definitely an interesting race, and it could have been much different if we did not end up with that huge wreck early on. I think back to the 2021 Daytona 500 where we had a huge wreck early on, and then it was kind of just right around. But the thing is, these guys kept on passing pretty much that entire time. It was not a ride around in any such way, shape, or form until Liera ended up getting the race lead. No one could pass her, just like it was last week at Homestead, but much different Daytona 500. I was not expecting this. I thought that we were going to have a lot of guys kind of just still in contention near the end. I honestly thought we could end up with a caution-free race. Not the case at all. And you see all the guys getting knocked out from that accident. It was just the one accident. But a quarter of the field failed to make it past lap 10 here today. Daniel Paulus Jr. also had an issue there, so only 29 guys were on the racetrack when we finished here. Just 4 wide in the front of the field, and we've seen it before. It just simply does not work. And the instant I saw that 4 wide, and going through testing, I rarely saw any 4 wide, and we ended up having it here today, and it really changed the entire dynamic of the race. But, I mean, Aliera, that's just amazing. 2 in a row. You know, Homestead was not an easy race to win. This was not an easy race to win. And like I said, the ratings are pretty much equal for everyone still. There are slight differences, but, you know, that's basically pure chance right there that Aliera has had in getting this race victory for a second straight week. And, yeah, she's got an average finishing position of 1.00 after the first 2 point-spanning races of the season. Now, next week, we head to the Auto Club Speedway. The 2-mile Auto Club Speedway, of course, is the last Auto Club race in real life next weekend. I'm excited to see how that one will go because it's another speedway, but it's a tough place to pass. And we're going to have a lot of fun. How do you think these guys are going to race over there at Auto Club? Do you think Yera could go 3 in a row here in the Wawa Cup Series?
Absolutely. I think there's definitely a chance at this point. Obviously, Owen is doing something right with those cars. Got a wonderful setup with the ratings and just everything else. A good selection of drivers as well. No doubt about it. But, man, Auto Club is not really anything like we've gone to so far. Granted, it is a bigger track with semi-steep baking. It's 14 degrees at the Auto Club Speedway. Homestead has 20. Daytona has 31. And this tended to play out more after the pileup anyways. Once everyone got separated, it felt like an intermediate type race where the aerodynamics really came into effect once everyone got separated. And they got back together, and then it was just an absolute mad dash to the checkered flag from there. But, man, the Dracoan cars, I'll tell you something about Dracoan Racing Enterprises. Last year, in the Trinity River Cup Series, Andrew Williams, who had won the year prior for Logan Sport, ended up finishing second, narrowly being beat by Chase Harris. So I have no doubt that Ali Liera is going to have a chance to go 3 in a row, and if she does, if another Dracoan car wins, boy, everybody else got to be nervous because somebody has royally screwed up their ratings, and Owen Miles is not that person.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to think too. There's been 3 ratings points added to the cars so far this season. Hardly anything is really changed behind or underneath the hood of these cars.
Right.
But I think it's just a lot of it had to do with chance there. Yera was able to avoid the accident, and this race would have been so much different if that wreck did not happen. It's just simple as that. But hey, either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Hey, we got the real-life Daytona 500, and hopefully that race in comparison will actually look better than this one. This one, I expected a little bit better, but hey, you know what? It is what it is with the ratings. That's just the way it goes, and I think we'll have a great race next week. And hey, it was still a great race regardless here for the Daytona 500, but you can't knock Aliera's win here. She earned that one. She deserved it, and another big win for her here on the channel, and she's going to be a threat to win this championship, I feel like, as the season goes along. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, next week we head to Auto Club. This Tuesday is the California 100 and the Haas IndyCar Series. We did the signs for that about a week ago, so look forward to that. Wednesday night is the Sprint Series race from Auto Club. And, of course, on Friday night, it's Napa 400 in the Wawa Cup Series for the 3rd race of the season at the Auto Club Speedway. So we got a lot of great races coming up at the Auto Club Speedway over the course of this week. Just a couple of days, we got a race coming up here from the Auto Club Speedway. Thank you guys so much for watching, though, once again. Here are the points for the Wawa Cup Series after 2 races. And we'll see you guys next week for the Napa 400 from the Auto Club Speedway. Congratulations to Aliera for getting the race victory in the Daytona 500. And on behalf of Nathan Stapleton and Josh Williamson, I will see you guys later.